Good evening. Good evening, all. Good evening. Let me just try and get up the comments. Hopefully, they'll just come up. Good evening, everyone. How much I love coming on these lives. And I have another very exciting topic for you all. I'm sure if you've seen the flyer, you know what we're talking about today. But of course, as usual, please let me know who is watching, where you're watching from, just so that I can greet you. So please let me know that you are on, and that would be absolutely amazing. Right. Just let me know. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get online so that I can read your comments, but it's fine. I'll just start the conversation. It's going to be a very exciting conversation, as I mentioned. I'm really looking forward to this particular topic because it's a topic that I'm learning myself. And it's about building a winning team or being winners, actually. I'll start off there because, in the first place, in order for you to build or be part of a winning team, you must first be a winner. And so I want to take it from there. I want to start our conversation there. So we're talking about winning team. And we've been going through a series of being a winner, of leading yourself, heart versus skill. We've spoken about community, we've spoken about character. And so now we're talking about winning, because if you're able to establish yourself as a strong leader, the next step is to use your leadership skills to win. So I'm going to be giving you tips that I'm learning from my mentor, from my community, so that we can win. Because remember, the Guild community, our aim and what our vision is for the Guild community is to raise the next generation of healthcare leaders. For me, that is a win. That is a major, massive win. So I am just, how do I cultivate that environment where we can do that? Is that I first have to be a winner. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. You helped me to know that I'm online. I can be heard because I wasn't sure. I wasn't seeing anything. So now I've seen your comment. I'm really happy. So first of all, winning starts with you, right? As I mentioned earlier, in order for you to first of all, be part of a winning team, and then for you to build a winning team, it actually starts with you. So I want to start with a very simple question, right? Have you actually ever wondered why some teams consistently achieve, crazy results, incredible results, whilst others, even though they might have much talent, never seem to actually fulfill their potential? Hi, not Mickey again. Have you ever wondered why some teams consistently achieve incredible results whilst other teams, even though they have amazing talent, don't actually seem to fulfill their potential? Is it because they're smarter, as in, is it because the winning team is smarter? Or is it because they're better qualified? Is it because they're more experienced? Sometimes it might just be the case, but I believe that the difference is usually down to something a lot more deeper, and that's your mindset, character, and responsibility. So we learn about the character side, right? And I will get a bit into that, but your mindset first. Before you can even become a winner, you must have already decided in your mind that that is exactly who you are. Because what does that do? It allows you to enter into opportunities, enter into spaces, enter into places knowing that you are going to win. You're not going to back down from a challenge because you've already decided in your mind that you're a winner. I don't personally think that any great athlete, any great sportsman, let's use an athlete, use Usain Bolt, for example, because he's an obvious example worldwide of a winner. I don't think that he's ever entered into a race thinking that he's going to lose. I know it sounds audacious and it sounds bold, but I don't think he's ever entered into a race thinking that he's going to lose. He's gone into that race knowing the kind of training that he's done, knowing what he's had to sacrifice, what he's had to put his body through. And he's just decided that I'm going to win this race. So winning actually first starts off with you. First of all, it's your mindset, then your character. We learned about character last week, that your character will be what sustains you. That when things do happen, because you have a steady character, you will just be able to stick that thing through. You're not going to complain. You're going to just find the solution in the problem. So, character and then responsibility. Have you actually taken responsibility to win? If, for example, you're at work and you've been given an assignment and you might have things that come in the way, get in the way to fulfill that assignment, are you going to be the one to take responsibility to make sure that that thing is done like you've been instructed to do? Or are you going to sit back and just give up because it's too hard or because you're not actually able to do the task? No, if you have a winning mindset, if you've decided to be a winner, you're coming back with that result. You're coming back with that assignment being completed. You're going to do everything that you know you can do in your power to make it happen. So you take responsibility to win. So if a successful team, so we've just recently seen, I'm based in the UK, right? And Arsenal have won the sorry, not Champions League, the Premier League, and they haven't won a trophy in about 20 years, right? But I'm sure the team that made that win happen after 20 years just decided to take responsibility, just decided to say, enough is enough, just decided to band together and become a winning team. So, what makes up a winning team? It's just a group of people who have individually decided that they are going to win. They come together with that winning mindset. Everybody plays their respective roles. Winning starts long before you actually get the trophy. It's not when you get the trophy. You've decided to win from before. You've decided to win a long time ago before getting that trophy. So, what would have started to happen is that you would start to train differently. You would start to discipline yourself. You probably put in extra hours. If you're the striker, you're going to go to the gym. You're going to form your body. You're going to put your body in shape in order to be excellent in your role as the striker. If you're a defender, you're going to train with a different mindset. You're going to train like a winner. You're not going to give up even when you feel tired, even when situations come your way. You're just going to be somebody who's persistently in the training room, just making yourself better in order for you to defend the goals. So winning starts way before you actually win. It's actually a decision that you decide to make. So if you're a healthcare professional, because of course that's my terrain, my industry, healthcare, and I'm looking at the guild and what we want to achieve, we want to make sure that there's no young person, middle-aged person, elderly person, or older person in healthcare who comes into our community that we cannot help to become a leader. That's what we believe in. We believe in being the next generation of solution providers, people that don't just complain about the system, but we do something about it. How and why do I think I can do that? Is because I've had it in my mind that I'm just going to win. I'm just going to see that vision come to pass. So before we even achieve anything, and sometimes you might be looking at the landscape and it looks dire. It looks like, can anything good actually happen? But actually, yes, because I've decided that it will. I've decided to win. So it starts with a decision. Winners make things happen. Let me tell you something. I heard my mentor said this statement and it actually blew my mind. He said that losers let things happen, winners make things happen. A lot of the times, a situation might crop up, maybe negatively, and you just decide that, people say it is what it is. I think some circumstances is acceptable, but not all the time. Losers just make things happen. And please permit me to use terminologies like losers and winners, is not to put anybody down. I'm just trying to make a point here, because the opposite of a winner is a loser. That's just the English language. But the person who wins, should I put it, the person who wins is somebody who just decides not to let things happen, but they make things happen. They make things happen. So generally, there are three types of people, right? There are people who watch things happen. There are people who wonder what happened, and then there are people who actually make things happen. Where do you stand? Are you somebody that is going to just let situations go past, just let problems take you away? Are you going to be somebody who just ponders on the problem, who thinks, why did this happen? You know, the things that we say, why is this happening to me? I don't even know what I did wrong. Or are you going to be somebody who's like, okay, this bad thing has happened, but I'm actually going to use it to my advantage. I'm actually going to find a solution to this problem and I'm going to win. I'm going to come out on the other side with a result. Which one are you going to be? Winning is never passive. Winning is very active. And we see that demonstrated again. Permit me to use the world of sports because I think it's just the most obvious example of winners, right? A sportsman who decides to win is not passive about their win. They've been in training. They've been forming and shaping their bodies. What maybe their family is doing at a particular season, they cannot do. If their family's having a cookout and they're eating loads of greasy foods, they can't. They have to be on a certain diet to make sure that they're fit enough to be able to win that prize, to be ready for the race or to be ready for the game. They have to get their mindsets in check. So they can't allow the normal general stresses of life to get to them because they've got something that they need to achieve. So winning is never passive, whether you're building a career, a business, or you're leading a healthcare team. Winners don't sit around waiting for the perfect conditions. They go in when they meet the opportunities. They create the opportunities, in fact. Again, I have to remember my one of my really close friends, Eben. She had a whole role created for her in an upcoming health tech company because they could see how good she was at her role. But she didn't just sit there and think, oh, I'm not actually qualified for this role. No, she went in, took the opportunity, even though the conditions didn't necessarily look perfect, but she stuck to it until she got a result. Oh, hi, Parksy, you're a doctor. Well, join us, join the guild community. Oh, you cut someone's back. Okay. She decided to create her own opportunity to the point where they now created a whole new role for her. She wasn't going to just back down. She wasn't going to just say, I'm just a normal pharmacist. No, I'm going to be somebody who can build a system. I'm going to be somebody who can bring solution to your company. And because she was persistent in doing that, they gave her or they created a whole new role. So winners create opportunities for themselves. They solve problems. You know how I feel about problem solving. They don't just see a situation and complain about it. They do something about it. And that's why I love this topic in healthcare, because we know that there are so many inventors, innovators in the healthcare space. Why when you have a headache can you grab a packet of paracetamol or ibuprofen? Is because somebody decided not to be a complainer but to actually be a solution provider, to sit there, study, do testings and trials until they came up with a solution. So actually, it's in the nature of a healthcare professional, a scientist, to be a problem solver. I always say, yeah, that pharmacy is literally investigative. Like sometimes I feel like a detective. I'm a prescriber as well. So it's almost like you see a patient with a problem, and sometimes that problem is completely outside of what you've ever encountered. And you now have to go and find the solution to help them with their problem. You can't be passive about it. You actually go and you look so that you can get a result for that patient. And you know the beautiful thing about not being passive, as you learn so much. Winners are people that are willing to learn because they have a goal. Winners are people who have goals, they have vision. They're going somewhere. They want that prize. They want that job. They want their team. If you're a manager of a team, you want your team to win. You want your team to be the best. They have somewhere that their eyes are focused on. So winners take initiative. They don't just sit back and wait for things to happen. They are proactive. They go for it. They take initiative. They're not complainers. So I want you to ask yourself one question. What have I been waiting for that I can actually start today? What is it that you've been waiting for that you could have actually started today? What goals have you written down or maybe pondered upon that you haven't yet done because you're seemingly waiting for the perfect condition? But you can actually start today. If it's that you want to start a business in health or you want to gather a community like the Guild community, what steps have you taken to be able to do that? Remember that winners are not passive. They are action people. They go for it. They create opportunities. Thank you, Blessing. You know, it's so encouraging when you're on. So as I mentioned, winning starts in your mind, right? Before anything happens publicly, it's actually won privately. You've already decided in your mind that I'm going to actually win this thing. I'm going to. Good evening, Chips. I'm going to win this thing. So before somebody becomes an exceptional clinician, right, they've decided that they are going to be an exceptional clinician. What are they going to do? Whilst maybe their colleagues have finished for the night, for the day, you know, they've left the workplace, they're going home to watch EastEnders or Home and Away or Neighbours, like I think Chidge revealed to us a few weeks ago. Was it Neighbours? I can't remember. I remember it was an Australian Australian soap. They're going away to watch those things, but that excellent clinician is going to stay behind. They're going to do extra reading. They're going to perfect their skill even more because they know that they want to be a winner. Before somebody builds a successful business, before they build a high performing team, they first develop the mindset saying, I will find a way. I'll find a way. A losing mindset looks for excuses. Oh, I wasn't able to do this because of this. I wasn't able to do that because of that. Like, if you're going to keep making excuses, you will never actually get the job done. So minimize the excuses. When catch yourself, when you're starting to say, oh, but then think, actually, with this but I'm about to say, can I actually find the solution? Because my thing is that even if something very terrible is going to happen, right? Like, let it be completely outside of your control. Like, there was nothing you could do about it because at that point, it was just supposed to happen. But if you're going to say, oh, this happened, that happened, I wasn't able to do my exam because this, or oh, yeah, I'm not able to take my exam, I'm not able to get to this next level of my career because I've had a child, or I've not been well, or whatever. You will have to assess this excuses you're making and see if it's actually something that's valid or you can actually do it. So a winning mindset is always looking for solutions. That doesn't actually mean to say that life is easy, like I mentioned. Challenges will come your way, but are you going to dwell on the challenges, or are you actually going to sit up and say, no, I am going to be that person? And as I mentioned before, because we're actually speaking of winning team, but again, and I might have to do a part 2 to this, but for you to be part of a winning team, you must first decide that you're going to be a winner. So ask yourself, when things go wrong, are you somebody who finds excuses, or are you somebody who finds a solution to that thing? That's what you're going to have to ask yourself. You're going to have to ask yourself whether you're going to be a solution provider or you're going to be somebody who's always going to who's always going to make excuses. So a winner actually is somebody who accepts the call to win, right? You have to accept the call to win. One of the biggest reasons people don't win is because they never decided to actually win in the first place. Again, it all starts in your mind. You didn't decide to win. You pulled up to the race and you just decided to be a partaker and not actually a winner. And a lot of us do that so subconsciously. We don't even consciously acknowledge that we've entered into a space. Listen, if you're going to be in your workplace, decide to be in your workplace and be the best colleague, be the best employee, be somebody who can come highly recommended. And it's something that I've really started to take on, even as my role as a prescriber, as my role. I'm just trying to always find opportunities to study more, study about the clinical area that I specialize in. I'm just trying to find solutions in that area. I'm just trying to identify the problems and not be a complainer, but actually be a solution provider. So, whatever you believe your purpose is, accept responsibility that comes with it. Again, I have to bring it back to the guild community. If we're saying that we're going to raise the next generation of healthcare leaders, if we're saying that we're going to be the innovators and the solution providers in healthcare, is that a responsibility that I'm willing to take on? Leadership isn't accidental, by the way. It's very intentional. Winning isn't accidental. It's very intentional. Again, let's use sports as an example. I don't think Ronaldo goes into a game thinking that he's going to lose. I don't think he sat there eating bags of chips or eating chocolate bars before a game. He went into that game with the mindset of winning. And that's why he's been consistent for years. As in, guys, Ronaldo has been playing. I feel like Ronaldo has been playing since I was like in secondary school. I don't get it. Like, I've just heard Ronaldo's name for years, like years and years. Why is he somebody who would come highly recommended? He's one of the wealthiest football players in the whole wide world. Why? Because he's just decided to always be somebody that's going to win. He's never satisfied with being second place. He's a winner. Winning requires responsibility, requires ownership, it requires commitment. You're going to have to stick at winning until you get to that result. So there are choices that you're going to have to make every single day to become a winner. So, good evening, Faith. Lovely to have you on. So, listen, you'll never receive more than what you invest into. And this is something that I live by, right? Because you're rarely going to get less than what you put in. If you're going to be a winner, you're going to have to put in the work. And sometimes work doesn't mean laborious, it doesn't mean cumbersome, it doesn't mean stress. It's just intention. Being able to focus on the detail, not missing a beat. Again, some people think that working hard is like stressing yourself out, being anxious. No, that's not what it means. It just means precision. It just means intention. You don't find what you're not looking for. Thank you, Cheers. Perfect way of saying it. You don't find what you're not looking for. You're just looking for a result. So if you invest little, expect little. It's as simple as that. If you invest little into your craft, if you invest little into your business, if you invest little into winning, you're going to get little. But of course, the opposite also counts. If you invest greatly, then you're going to gain greatly, you're going to win greatly, you're going to have a great result. And you'll actually see dramatic difference in your results. Just try it. What's the goal that we discussed earlier? What's the one thing that you've been sitting on that you've not? Try and just work on it this week. Put in extra effort into it this week. If you already are working on something, just add a little more this week and see whether your results won't dramatically transform. Because the more you put into winning, the more chances you will win. It's as simple as that. Hi, Peter. Hello. Thank you for joining. You will dramatically increase your chances of seeing greater results the more work you put in. So this applies to your career, your relationship, leadership, health, business, health. If you know that one of your goals, something that you want to win at, is being fitter, it's not by you sitting passively and just eating junk food all day. It's you've gotten up, you've become active, you're eating healthy, you're eating your vegetables, your fruits, you're going to the gym, you're working your body, you're putting in the work, you will see great results. It's as simple as that. It's principle. What we do is a lot of us often we wish for the results. If you're religious, you pray for results that you never even prepared for. Ask yourself, where in my life am I expecting a harvest that I've not planted for? Seed sowing, right? You sow a seed. What's going to happen if it's in good ground? It's going to bear fruit. It's natural that it will bear a harvest. No sower is going to sow an apple seed expecting for it not to grow. If they know that they've put it in a good ground, that tree is going to grow and it's going to produce apples for that farmer. In the same way, if you know you want a particular harvest, if you know you want a particular result, if you know you want to win, you have to sow for that. You have to put seed in the ground for that. So the place of rest is the place of work. That's one thing my mentor said. Because again, as I said, sometimes putting in the work, it's not you being hectic and all over the place and stressed out and things like that. But actually, you will be able to work because you're in a place of rest. What does a place of rest look like that you've decided in your heart that you're going to win? One of my leaders was saying, using an example of a tennis player that she's been observing, and she was speaking about the fact that when this gentleman is playing tennis, he's so smooth with it. He's so smooth with it, and his opposition was just sweating, batting, running up and down the court, stressed out. And they interviewed the guy, and he won the match, by the way. And they interviewed him, and they said, "Why do you play like that? Why do you play so smoothly, like so relaxed?" And it's because he said, "It's because I'm at peace." Do you know what has made him at peace? He's decided that he's going to win. It's a mindset thing. If you've already decided that this is the result, listen, this is the result. It will actually, you will work hard, but won't even feel it. I think when Michael Jordan and if you've read, there's like a Netflix series on him and his work rate, and he would just be in the court when other people were not in the court. He would be training when other people were sleeping. He would be shooting hoops for hours and hours and hours and hours, and to some it looked insane. But I think in those moments he was just so much at peace. Why? Because he just decided that I'm going to be the best in this game. I'm going, like, to this day, listen, I'm telling you, yeah, a 5-year-old will talk about Michael Jordan. As in, Michael Jordan hasn't played for like years, but we still know. If you think about it, if you say basketball in your mind, say you were playing word association and you said basketball, you're going to mention somebody's going to mention Michael Jordan. That's how good he was at his game. Timeless. I don't even watch basketball personally, but I know Michael Jordan. Everybody around the world will know Michael Jordan because he put in the work. So, because he had already decided in his mind who he was a winner, he was in a place of rest. And that is actually what made him work. So, this sounds strange at first. What I'm saying sounds strange, but I've realized that actually the healthiest work comes from rest, not laziness, not laziness, but peace. You will be able to outrun many of your colleagues. And again, this is not in a spiteful, competitive way, because again, we're speaking about the winning team, everybody playing their role. But you'll be able to play your role just right because you've got it in your mind that you're just a winner. You're just a winner. When you know why you're doing something, you won't stop working out of fear. You won't start looking for somebody's approval. You already know your goals. You already know what you're going for. So if, for example, you're in a team, you're in an MDT, I love speaking about the multidisciplinary team. You have your nurses in the team, you have your pharmacists in the team, you have your doctors in the team. What is the goal? Is to make sure that your patient has the highest form of care. So you're not going to suddenly you encounter a problem, maybe the person's blood is out of range, and then no, you went to school, you went to university for 4 years, 5 years, some of you 6 7 years, to learn a skill, and then you've done the experience to know that if I encounter a problem, I have to investigate the problem. So you begin to play your role. If you know that you need help, you reach out and you get the necessary help to solve that patient's problem. So you work because you've embraced your purpose. You work because you're driven. Leaders are self-driven. They're driven by themselves. They don't panic. They don't fear. They just are driven by purpose. So again, ask yourself, and please note down the things I'm asking because these are things that you can go away with yourself and start to ponder on. But are you working because you're chasing approval or because you found purpose? Again, I've found purpose with my team that we are going to be people who will see the next generation of healthcare leaders being birthed and made. We don't believe in just being standard 9 to 5 healthcare professionals or 12 to 12 or 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You see healthcare professionals working exhausted, tired, over it, that to the point where their care declines. If you've ever been in A&E at like 4 a.m. in the morning, you know the care that you're going to get compared to 9 a.m. when everybody's fresh. Like, it's, do you understand? Because most people, especially with the NHS shortages, the cuts in budget, people are stretched. And what does that make them do or feel? It makes them lose the sight of purpose. A lot of people went into healthcare wanting to help people, but they lose sight of that. And so what happens is that the care becomes slack. They no longer decide to be winners. They just want to be workers. They don't want to solve problems anymore because they're tired. They just want to go home, put their feet up and sleep and come back the next day. We don't want to raise those types of people. We want you to go into the workplace with the service is different. Yes, Morley's versus Mayfair. No, you're going to kill me. It's true though. It's true. Mayfair, the reason why there's that level, that standard in Mayfair, and it was so funny because I went out to a really nice place in, I think it was in Kensington. Where did we go? Knightsbridge. I went to a nice restaurant in Knightsbridge on the weekend, and me and my leaders, we were laughing at the service, the different service. So it's quite interesting that you said that, Chibs. And we were observing a waiter, and he was changing the tablecloth. And he was changing it in front of all of us because he wanted us to observe his standard that in Knightsbridge, we as soon as somebody finishes eating, we're going to remove the tablecloth and we're going to give you a new one. It's a level of service. It's a high level of service. We were then laughing at another restaurant that we went to in another part of London that might not be as fancy. And we were laughing because they have plastic covers. So between between services, they just wiped it down, you know? Just yeah, next person, that kind of thing. That level of attention and detail is what makes Knightsbridge and the other place the other place. So a winner is somebody who always is ready to maintain that high standard. They're not just going to accept littleness. They're not just going to accept the bare minimum. They're going to be extra. Generally, normally, a winner is extra. In fact, sometimes a winner is annoying. I'm sure, I don't know, name me like one of the greatest athletes or their colleagues are probably looking at them like, this guy is annoying. Why is he always in the gym? Why is he waking up early? The call time for training is 7 a.m. Why is this guy getting there for 5? Trust me, you know already people are complaining because they haven't prepared themselves to be the winner. That's just all I'm saying. So winning requires competition, right? Competition isn't about beating everyone else. It's about beating yourself. It's you. You're in competition with you. One of my leaders said that actually the most dangerous place to be or the most dangerous thing is your last win. Because what a lot of us do is that we stay in our last win and we don't actually challenge ourselves to do something new or to get better at the thing that we once had. We stay in our last thing. So that is actually, so maybe you might have got a promotion 5 years ago and you're still elating over that win 5 years ago, but nothing inside of you is saying, actually, I refuse to stay where I am. Some people can stay and listen, each to their own, right? But we're talking about winning. Some people can stay in the same place. I remember, and please allow me to kind of go in and out with stories. I remember I was very young in my pharmacy career, and I worked in a surgery, and it was a surgery, but it had its own dispensary, and we were doing numbers. We were doing like 1,000 prescriptions like a day. I was literally like a robot. I was literally and we had a robot. We also had a robot. So the robot was just churning out medicines and I was just signing and signing and signing and signing. It was long. There was a lady who had been there for 15 years. She'd been there for 15 years. And again, please, it's not about the time that she was there. But that lady would literally spend 9 a.m. that we got there to the 6 p.m. that we finished just complaining. She'd complain about the system. She'd complain about the management. She'd complain. She complained so much, yeah. And remember, I was quite young in my career. I just said to her one day, why don't you quit? Like, why are you complaining? So, you know, when somebody complains, you actually just get fed up with it. I was like, why don't you just quit then? She's like, oh no, my mortgage. Like, how? I'm just like, so if you're seeing all these problems, then why don't you just go to management and say, why, by the way, why are you not management? First of all, why are you not management by now? And why can't you go to management and prefer solutions? Why? Because you've decided that you're not going to be a winner. You want to be that same person 15 years ago when things were comfortable, when technology hadn't evolved. You were complaining about the robot, but the robot is actually making your job more efficient. You don't have to do anything. You're not running around different shelves. The robot is literally dispensing the thing right in front of you, but you don't want to evolve with the times. So competition isn't about beating everyone else. It's about you refusing to stay in the same place. The greatest opportunity you'll ever have is the yesterday's version of yourself. That's why in tech, there's always updates. They're always improving versions. It's to improve, what did they say? To improve bugs, get rid of bugs. There are things that are there corrupting the system that was in the past. There always has to be updates so that the system can get better. Are you going to keep sitting there complaining about this happened, that? Are you going to get better? Again, I've told you guys almost every week that it got to a point in my career that I said, this is not enough. I was bored and I was not earning what I wanted to be earning. So I went back to uni. I went back to school to study so that I could get better. I wanted to be a winner. So I had to prune myself in that direction to win. So ask yourself these questions. Can I be more disciplined? Can I communicate better? Can I be a stronger leader? Can I serve people better? A great leader is a person that can serve. In fact, it's a principle I hold so dear that the greatest of you will be the servant of all. Can you serve better? That actually, being able to serve people better is actually what makes you a greater leader. That's actually what makes you a winner. So if you have a patient, can I make sure that I go above and beyond to ensure that their care is top is 10/10? Yes, you're gonna have difficult patients, you're gonna have people that you encounter, difficult colleagues. It's all part of the game. But can you decide to rise above that and just be somebody who is going to be a winner? You don't care who's in your way. You don't care who, what somebody's doing to you. You've just decided in your mind you're going to be a winner. Winning people are committed to continuously progressing. In healthcare, there's a term called CPD, continual professional development. There's a reason why healthcare professionals are even forced, as a pharmacist, you cannot move on to the next year of pharmacy without doing CPD. In fact, they'll make you do two unintentional, I can't even remember the name of them, intended, unintended. You at least 6 different documents you have to submit before you can register again for the next year. Because they know that to produce better colleagues, these people have to go and learn more. They have to go and develop their professional skills. So if the system understands that, how much more than yourself? Winning people are committed to continual improvement. They're not satisfied with the old version of themselves. They keep getting better. I'm almost rounding up, but this is something that I want to talk about, which is complainers versus builders. I've noticed something, right? That people who have a losing mindset spend most of their energy just describing the problem. This happened to me at work, that happened to me at work, this happened to me at work. And again, please, I'm not saying that you can't talk about what's happening, right? But I'm saying, are you going to be somebody who dwells there? Maybe, again, let me use sports. Maybe, you lost a match. You're a footballer, you lost a match. If Ronaldo, are you trying to say that Ronaldo, when he's played for Man United or he's played for Real Madrid or he's played for Portugal like he's playing now, and they lost, do you think he's going to sit there thinking, my team lost, I can't believe it, oh my gosh, we're losers? Or is he going to go on that field and is he going to train harder to make sure that they don't lose again? That's the difference between a complainer and a builder and a winner. Ask immediately, if a problem occurs, what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because guess what? Remember, we spoke earlier about responsibility, taking responsibility for problems. Guess what? Even if the problem isn't your problem, that's even what shows that you're a winner even more. When that problem isn't even your problem, but you've just decided that you're going to be a solution provider. That's how people climb up. That's how business people become more and more refined, and they make more and more money because they're just solving problems. So that's why they say that somebody in the C-suite level, they're not doing the technical work. They're just having meetings upon meetings upon meetings. They're just meetings people. And I think again, my good friend Eben, I have to use it as an example. She was saying, "Yeah, this work is going to be a little bit better because I'm just going to be in meetings." What does that show you? Is that she's now in a position of just solving problems. The more you solve problems, it's like a winning is addictive though. Winning is addictive. The more you win, the more you want to win, the more you win. So I get it why you see millionaires and billionaires. Let me tell you something. A millionaire will always tell you that if they lost all their money, they know how to make the million again because they're just winners. They've just realized, they just clocked the pattern. They just know how to win. They just know that I'm just going to prefer solutions. I'm just not going to complain about the problem. I'm just going to get on with it. So when you encounter a problem, do you ask, what am I going to do about it? Healthcare doesn't need critics. Critics are everywhere. Just go on LBC, you'll find critics. If you want to find complainers, go on LBC, you'll find them there for free. Healthcare needs builders. Communities don't grow because people complain, they grow because people contribute. So at the Guild, we want to raise solution providers, and I don't know how much more I can say. But let me round up because I've been speaking for ages, and guess what? Like I can talk about this for ages, and I think that's why I think I'm going to do a part two of winners because there's just so much to uncover. But in closing, I would love to leave you with a thought, right? Don't just spend your whole career wishing you were a striker if you've been called to be the best goalkeeper on the pitch. Because remember, we speak about winning teams. A winner is also somebody that can acknowledge their role and do their role the best. If you're a striker, why are you forcing yourself to be a goalkeeper? Be the best striker so that you. I can't say that I'm a doctor, I'm a pharmacist. Yes, I'm a prescriber. Yes, I have a lot of clinical knowledge. Yes, I can diagnose, but I'm not a doctor. If I want to be a doctor, I can go back to university and be in that role. But don't like be the best at who you are. If you've been called to be whatever you've been called to be, you put yourself in that position. But be the best at who you are. Decide to win where you are. Do you know what? If you decide to be where you are, if you decide to win where you are, where you want to be, you'll get to. It's just the way that it works. Winning is a consistent thing. I don't even want us to stay in the state of win or I won. No, be a winner. Be in the constant state of winning. How do you win the league? It's constant winning. It's not that you won your first match. Because if you're watching the World Cup right now, loads of teams won their first match. In fact, Ghana, they played their match. So I'm Ghanaian, that's my background. Um, they won a couple of matches, but now they're no longer in the World Cup. Why? Because they lost. So winning is consistent. Winning is daily, it's mindset. It's waking up in the morning just saying, I'm going to conquer this day. I'm going to fulfill my goals. Championships aren't won because one player is extraordinary. They're won because ordinary people consistently play their position with excellence. Do you see where I'm coming from? So the question you're going to have to ask yourself is, are you on the winning team? And I think next week, I'm also going to talk about the people that you surround yourself with. And I think I spoke about that in the community conversation that we had. Surrounding yourself with people who are on winning as much as you are. Because trust me, if you're going to be around complainers, you're going to end up being a complainer. But if you're around people that just consistently want to win, you are going to end up being a winner. So thank you so much again for joining. It's been an absolutely amazing conversation. these are the kind of leaders that we're building here at the Guild community. You know what it is already. Please subscribe to this channel, the Guild community. Sorry, the Guild HQ. You know we're going to be bringing out a lot more content. You're going to be, and I always promise you every week that we're going to have different leaders speaking. This week, unfortunately, the leader that I wanted to speak wasn't able to make it, but I will fulfill my promise to you to get more of my colleagues down and talking to you all. But get in the mindset of winning. Decide in your mind that you're going to be a winner. Also, follow us on Instagram, the Guild Community, no, the Guild Society, and then obviously our website is www.theguildcommunity.co.uk. But it's been such a pleasure speaking to you all. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed your comments. Thank you so much. And I will see you all again, same time next week. Bye.